The massive hegemonial battleship loomed against the backdrop of Jupiter, its sleek, metallic hull reflecting the distant sunlight. Inside its diplomatic deck, the air hung thick with tension as both parties prepared for the signing ceremony scheduled in 3 hours. Commander Vex Lord Tornik stood at the viewport, his tall, scaled form casting a long shadow across the polished floor. His 4 eyes narrowed as he watched the approaching human vessel, small, unassuming, and seemingly harmless. "Primitive design," he muttered to his second-in-command. "Hard to believe they've managed interplanetary travel with such rudimentary technology." "The reports suggest they're resourceful, Commander," his subordinate replied. Tornik's upper lip curled into what passed for a smile among his species. "Resourcefulness won't save them from what's coming. Are our fleet positions confirmed?" "Yes, Commander. 30 battlecruisers are hidden in Jupiter's magnetic field awaiting your signal. The humans have no idea." "Perfect. This peace treaty is merely a formality, a distraction. Within 24 hours, Earth will become another resource planet for the hegemony. Prepare to receive their delegation." The human shuttle docked with practiced precision. When the airlock opened, 3 figures emerged: Ambassador Diana Reeves, a woman in her 50s, with steel-gray hair and eyes that missed nothing; Admiral Jackson Parker, whose military bearing was unmistakable even in diplomatic attire; and Dr. Marcus Fleming, a thin, bespectacled man who fidgeted slightly as he surveyed the alien technology surrounding them. "Welcome aboard the Indomitable," Tornik announced, extending his upper limbs in the formal greeting of his species. "I am Commander Vex Lord Tornik, representative of the hegemonial empire." Ambassador Reeves stepped forward. "Commander Tornik, I bring greetings from Earth and the Sol System Unified Nations. We are honored to finalize this historic peace treaty between our peoples." Tornik noted her calm demeanor with mild surprise. Most species trembled when first encountering hegemonial leadership. Humans were either braver or more foolish than most. "The honor is ours," he replied smoothly. "The hegemony extends friendship to all civilizations ready to join our galactic community." As the formalities continued, Ambassador Krendel of the Pluridians, a race long since absorbed into the hegemony, appeared to serve as a neutral intermediary. The small, translucent being had been instrumental in brokering this supposed peace treaty. "Both parties have agreed to the terms," Krendel's melodic voice announced. "Earth will gain protected status and limited technological exchange, while the hegemony receives mining rights to Earth's outer asteroid belt." Tornik gestured toward the conference room. "Please let us proceed with the ceremonial exchange before the formal signing." Inside, a holographic display of the treaty document hovered above the central table. As per tradition, gifts would be exchanged before signatures. The human delegation carried 2 items: a transparent sphere containing samples of Earth's biosphere, water, soil, and atmosphere, and a data crystal containing cultural information. "A token of Earth's essence," Ambassador Reeves said, presenting the sphere. "And a window into our civilization." She handed the crystal to Krendel, who placed it in the ship's reader. Images of Earth's art, music, and history flickered across the display screens. Tornik observed with barely concealed contempt. Such sentimentality was typical of young civilizations, a weakness the hegemony had long exploited. "Most fascinating," Tornik said, though his tone suggested otherwise. He turned to his aide. "Prepare our gift." A hegemonial officer presented an ornate box containing a small device. "This communicator will allow direct contact with the Hegemony Council, a symbol of our new alliance." Admiral Parker accepted it with a stiff nod. Dr. Fleming studied it from a distance, his eyes narrowing slightly behind his glasses. "Most generous," Fleming murmured his first words since arriving. Something in his tone made Tornik focus more intently on the human scientist. As the delegation moved to the diplomatic dining area, Tornik noticed subtle oddities in the humans' behavior. They seemed remarkably composed, almost detached. The Admiral barely touched his food, and Fleming's eyes constantly darted around the room, cataloging details. "Tell me, Ambassador," Tornik said, breaking the silence. "How does Earth view its place in the galactic community?" Reeves smiled politely. We're newcomers, Commander, eager to learn but determined to maintain our independence and cultural identity. Independence is admirable, Tornik replied, but often impractical in a galaxy of ancient powers. The hegemony offers protection. Protection assumes threat, Admiral Parker interjected. Who exactly would we need protection from? The question hung in the air, almost challenging. Tornik felt a flicker of unease. The universe contains many dangers, Admiral. Some civilizations don't survive first contact. Fleming coughed softly. How fortunate we've encountered the benevolent hegemony first, then. Was that sarcasm? Tornik couldn't be sure. Human expressions were difficult to read. Throughout the meal, Tornik became increasingly suspicious. The humans asked pointed questions about hegemonial fleet deployments, communication protocols, and defensive systems, all under the guise of diplomatic curiosity. He provided censored answers, of course, but their interests seemed too specific, too focused. As they returned to the conference room for final preparations, Tornik pulled Ambassador Krendel aside. These humans, do they suspect anything? Krendel's transparent skin rippled in confusion. Suspect the treaty is genuine from their perspective, Commander. They have no reason to doubt. They're too calm, Tornik interrupted. Too calculating. The scientist Fleming, he studies our systems as if memorizing them. Humans are naturally curious, Krendel offered. And this is their first extraterrestrial diplomatic mission. Tornik wasn't convinced, but the ceremony beckoned. He took his position at the head of the table as the holographic treaty shimmered between them. 1 hour until signing. Before we proceed, Ambassador Reeves announced, we'd like to place our biosphere gift in the center of the room, an Earth tradition symbolizing that our worlds revolve around this new piece. Tornik nodded his assent, though such sentimentality seemed pointless. Fleming carefully positioned the sphere on a pedestal, adjusting it with what seemed like unnecessary precision. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. Tornik's communication device chirped urgently. Commander, energy fluctuations detected throughout the vessel. Systems are failing ship-wide. Tornik whirled toward the humans, whose expressions remained unchanged. What have you done? He demanded. The sphere at the center of the room had begun to glow, emanating waves of energy that washed over the chamber. Nothing you weren't planning yourself, Commander, Reeves replied calmly. We've simply changed the timeline. Throughout the ship, hegemonial troops found themselves paralyzed, their neural implants suddenly offline. Command systems froze, weapons deactivated, and communication arrays fell silent. Impossible, Tornik whispered. Our technology is vulnerable. Dr. Fleming completed the sentence. Particularly to quantum phase disruption. The field emanating from our gift has temporarily neutralized all hegemonial technology on this vessel. Admiral Parker stood his posture now unmistakably military. Your fleet hiding behind Jupiter is similarly affected. We've known about them for weeks. Tornik staggered back. How could you possibly... No, Ambassador Reeves stepped forward. Commander Tornik, did you truly believe we were as primitive as we appeared? Humanity has been monitoring hegemonial communications for decades. We've intercepted, decoded, and analyzed every transmission. We know about your expansion patterns, your subjugation protocols, your plans for Earth. Reeves gestured, and the holographic treaty disappeared, replaced by a detailed map of hegemonial fleet movements throughout the solar system. We know about the 30 battleships hiding in Jupiter's magnetosphere. We know about the colonization equipment ready for deployment. We know this peace treaty was always a lie. Tornik's scales darkened with rage and fear. Impossible. Your civilization has barely achieved interplanetary travel. You couldn't possibly have such intelligence capabilities. Dr. Fleming smiled thinly. We've maintained that appearance deliberately, Commander. While openly developing conventional space travel, we've secretly mastered quantum communications, gravitational mapping, and phase-shifting technology. We can monitor any point in our solar system in real time. For how long? Tornik demanded. Long enough, Admiral Parker replied. We intercepted your first scout ships 20 years ago. Instead of announcing first contact, We studied you. We learned your languages, your technology, your strategies. Every hegemonial secret mission to our system has been tracked, every probe examined and returned to its course, none the wiser. Tornik lunged for his weapon but found his limbs suddenly heavy, barely responsive. The paralysis field affects organic hegemonial nervous systems too, Fleming explained. Targeted specifically to your species' neural pathways. We've had ample specimens to study from your covert landing parties. Ambassador Krendel had backed away, translucent skin pulsing with shock. Is this true, Commander? Was the treaty a pretense for invasion? Tornik couldn't answer. The evidence was displayed in holographic detail above them. Invasion plans, subjugation protocols, resource extraction schedules. Ambassador Reeves turned to Krendel. The Pluridians were once a free people before hegemonial protection. We know your history, Ambassador Krendel. We know how many worlds have fallen under their expansion. Krendel's voice trembled. I was told this was a genuine peace offer. Your sincerity was never in question, Reeves assured him. Which is why you'll be granted asylum if you desire it. Tornik found his voice. What do you want, ransom technology? You can't possibly think to stand against the entire hegemony. Reeves smiled, a cold, confident expression that chilled even Tornik's reptilian blood. What we want, Commander, is very simple. The original treaty disappears. In its place. She gestured, and a new holographic document appeared. A different agreement. Tornik scanned the terms with mounting horror. This wasn't a peace treaty. It was a surrender document. Earth demanded recognition as an independent power, reparations for hegemonial intrusions, and most shockingly, leadership positions within the Interstellar Council. Your Supreme Council will never agree to this madness, Tornik hissed. Admiral Parker stepped forward. They already have. While we've been chatting, identical operations have been conducted on every hegemonial ship in our system. Your council has received comprehensive evidence of your invasion plans, along with demonstrations of our technological capabilities. They're currently experiencing, let's call it, a crisis of confidence in their military superiority. Fleming adjusted his glasses. We've also taken the liberty of broadcasting the truth throughout your empire. Many subjugated worlds are finding this revelation inspiring. The implications hit Tornik like a physical blow. Internal pressures from rebellious worlds, external threats from previously underestimated species, the hegemony faced potential collapse. This is an act of war, he managed. No, Reeves corrected. This is preventing one. We could have destroyed your fleet the moment it entered our system. Instead, we're offering terms. Generous ones given the circumstances. A communication screen activated, showing the hegemonial Supreme Council chamber. The High Chancellor's face filled the display. Commander Tornik, the ancient voice rasped. The situation has changed. You are authorized, no commanded, to sign the revised agreement. Chancellor, they've infiltrated our systems, they've outmaneuvered us. The Chancellor cut him off. And demonstrated both power and restraint. Sign the treaty, Commander. That's an order. The screen went dark. Tornik stood frozen, his career, his species' dominance collapsing around him. Ambassador Reeves approached with a physical document paper, an archaic touch. We prefer some traditions. Sign, Commander. A new era begins today. Slowly, with trembling limbs, Tornik took the offered pen. The signing ceremony proceeded with a surreal formality. As Tornik pressed the pen to paper, he saw his future crumbling. The mighty hegemony reduced to negotiating with a species they'd planned to subjugate. The neutralization field will dissipate once we've departed, Fleming explained. Your ship's functions will return, and your crew will regain full mobility. And if I order pursuit once that happens, Tornik challenged. Admiral Parker smiled grimly. Every hegemonial vessel is now embedded with quantum trackers. We'll know your movements before your crews do. Besides, your orders are to return to hegemonial space immediately. Isn't that right, Commander? The treaty signed, the human delegation prepared to depart. Ambassador Krendel approached them hesitantly. I would I would like to learn more about Earth, the Pluridian said quietly. Perhaps facilitate genuine diplomatic relations this time. Reeves nodded warmly. We would welcome that ambassador. As they reached the airlock, Reeves turned back to Tornik, who stood defeated at the diplomatic deck entrance. Commander, despite everything, we're not your enemies unless you choose to make us so. Humanity doesn't seek dominance, only security and fair treatment. Remember that when you report back. Left alone on his ship, Tornik watched the human shuttle detach and accelerate away. Around him, systems gradually reactivated as the paralysis field faded. His crew regained mobility, confusion and fear evident in their movements. Commander, his second-in-command approached cautiously. Your orders? Tornik stared at the view screen where Earth was barely visible as a distant blue dot. Such an unassuming world to have orchestrated this humiliation. Set course for hegemonial space, he said finally, and prepare a complete report on human technological capabilities. It seems we have much to learn. As the Indomitable turned away from Jupiter, Tornik considered his options. Returning meant disgrace, possibly execution. But perhaps there was another path. The humans had demonstrated both overwhelming superiority and unexpected mercy. Perhaps there was value in understanding them better, possibly even defecting. For the first time in his long military career, Commander Vex Lord Tornik wondered if he'd been fighting for the wrong side all along. On Earth, the diplomatic team descended through the atmosphere, their shuttle streaking across the dawn sky. In the secure conference room of the United Nations Space Fleet Command, they delivered their report to the assembled world leaders. Operation Trojan Gift successful, Ambassador Reeves announced. The hegemonial fleet is retreating. The new treaty has been signed and acknowledged by their Supreme Council. Applause filled the room, but Admiral Parker raised a cautionary hand. This is only the beginning. We've revealed our technological advantages sooner than planned. The hegemony will adapt. They won't underestimate us again. Dr. Fleming nodded in agreement. Our window of superiority may be limited. We need to accelerate the Jupiter defense grid and expand our quantum surveillance network. Thomas Whitfield, the UN Security Council president, leaned forward. And the information campaign throughout hegemonial territory, already showing results, Lakshmi Patel, the communications director, reported. We're receiving transmissions from 7 formerly subjugated worlds. They're looking to Earth for leadership. Leadership we must provide, Reeves said firmly. Today marks humanity's entrance onto the galactic stage, not as victims or subjects, but as equals, perhaps even liberators. As the strategy session continued into the night, plans were made, alliances formed, and a new vision for humanity's place in the cosmos emerged. The peace treaty had indeed been a lie, but not in the way the hegemony had intended. The massive hegemonial battleship Retribution hovered at the edge of Earth's solar system, its commander staring at the holographic display with mounting disbelief. What should have been a simple follow-up to Tornik's invasion had become a nightmare. Confirm that report, Commander Zex snarled at his sensor officer. Confirmed, Commander. The Indomitable is retreating from the system. All invasion forces are standing down. And the officer hesitated. Speak. We're receiving transmissions from planets throughout hegemonial space. Uprisings, demands for independence. Something has happened. Zex turned to his intelligence officer. Contact Commander Tornik. I want explanations. Unable, Commander. The Indomitable is under communications blackout by direct order of the Supreme Council. Zex's scales darkened with rage. Then contact the Council. The response came minutes later, a directive so shocking that Zex had to read it 3 times before believing it. Attention, all hegemonial forces. Earth system now designated restricted zone. All military vessels withdraw immediately. Non-compliance will be considered treason. As the Retribution grudgingly changed course, Zex contemplated the unthinkable. For the first time in 5,000 years, the hegemonial empire had backed down. In the following weeks, the galaxy underwent a transformation. The revelation of the hegemony's duplicity spread through quantum channels to every corner of their territory. Species long subjugated began questioning their overlords. The Supreme Council, recognizing the potential for complete collapse, implemented unprecedented reforms. On Earth, preparations continued. Defense systems expanded diplomatic missions, launched to newly liberated worlds, and humanity stepped confidently into its new role. 6 months after the treaty signing, Ambassador Reeves stood on the observation deck of Earth's new orbital diplomatic station, waiting for a most unexpected visitor. The small craft docked with precision, and when the airlock opened, Commander Vex, Lord Tornik, stepped through without military escort or insignia. Ambassador Reeves. He inclined his head slightly. "Thank you for agreeing to this meeting." "Former Commander Tornik," she acknowledged. "Or should I say asylum seeker Tornik?" "My request is genuine," he said quietly. "I've seen enough to know which way the cosmic winds are blowing. The hegemony's days of dominance are ending." "And you wish to be on the winning side?" Tornik met her gaze directly. "I wish to be on the right side, Ambassador. Something I haven't experienced in my 300 years of service." Reeves studied him carefully. "You understand will require complete disclosure of hegemonial military intelligence." "Naturally. I've already prepared comprehensive data on fleet deployments, weapons capabilities, and strategic vulnerabilities." He extended a crystalline data storage device. "Consider it a down payment on my sincerity." As they walked toward the conference room, Reeves couldn't help but ask, "What changed your mind, Commander, beyond simple self-preservation?" Tornik was silent for several steps before answering. "You could have destroyed us, annihilated our fleet, exposed our empire to complete collapse. Instead, you offered terms. Mercy." He looked at her, with his 4 eyes genuinely puzzled. "The hegemony would never have shown such restraint. It makes me wonder what else we might have been wrong about." In the conference room, Admiral Parker and Dr. Fleming waited alongside Thomas Whitfield and Lakshmi Patel. The former hegemonial commander would face intense questioning, but his knowledge could prove invaluable. "Will they accept him?" Parker asked quietly, as Reeves entered ahead of Tornik. "They're considering it," she replied. "His rank gives him credibility, and defectors are appearing throughout the Empire. He's merely the highest profile." Fleming adjusted his glasses. "His technical knowledge alone justifies the risk, and psychologically, his defection sends a powerful message." As the debriefing began, Tornik provided insight after insight into hegemonial operations psychology and vulnerabilities. For hours, he spoke, occasionally pausing, as memories of his former loyalty surfaced, but always continuing. "You understand," Admiral Parker said during one such pause, "that this information will be used to dismantle the empire you served." Tornik's scales shifted in what humans had learned was an expression of irony. "The empire I served was already dismantling itself, Admiral. Corruption, stagnation, paranoia, we conquered because we feared being conquered. We dominated because we couldn't imagine cooperation." He looked around the room. "You humans have shown a different path. I'm curious to see where it leads." In the Supreme Council chamber, on the hegemonial homeworld, chaos reigned. Reports of rebellions poured in from a dozen systems. The treaty with Earth had been publicized throughout the Empire, and with it, evidence of the Council's failed deception. "We should never have attempted to conquer Earth," one counselor lamented. "Our intelligence was flawed. Their primitive appearance concealed advanced capabilities." "The question," the High Chancellor rasped, "is what do we do now?" The strategic advisor stepped forward. "We have 3 options: full-scale war against Earth, and its growing alliance, complete restructuring of the Empire as a cooperative commonwealth, or gradual managed decline, while we consolidate around core worlds." "War is suicide," another counselor said bluntly. "Their quantum technology allows them to monitor our every movement. The surprise advantage we've relied on for millennia is gone." The High Chancellor's ancient eyes narrowed. "Then we adapt. We've ruled for 5,000 years by being stronger than our rivals. If strength fails, We'll use cunning. Begin reorganization under the Commonwealth model publicly. Privately accelerate weapons development and identify Earth's weaknesses. And Tornik's defection, a calculated loss. Let him feed them outdated information while we develop new strategies. The Chancellor's lipless mouth formed a grim line. This game is far from over. On the Mars colony, humanity's first extrasolar embassy was nearing completion. Representatives from 7 formerly subjugated species had arrived to form what was being called the Solar Alliance, a mutual defense and cultural exchange pact with Earth at its center. Ambassador Krendel, now the official Pluridian representative to Earth, stood beside Reeves as they surveyed the magnificent structure. "I never imagined seeing this day," the translucent being confessed. "For centuries, my people dreamed of freedom from hegemonial rule. Now not only are we free, but we stand as equals with a new power." "Not a power," Reeves corrected gently. "A partner. That's the difference we're trying to establish." And yet, Krendel's melodic voice carried a note of warning. "You must be careful. Power, even gained with the best intentions, can corrupt. The hegemony began as a defense alliance 5 millennia ago. We're aware of the risks," Reeves acknowledged. "Which is why we're establishing the Alliance Council, with equal representation, rotating leadership, and transparent decision-making." As night fell on the red planet, the embassy's lights illuminated the surrounding landscape, a symbol of hope of change and of challenges yet to come. In the quantum communication lab beneath Geneva, Dr. Fleming worked tirelessly with his team. The wall displays showed real-time monitoring of hegemonial movements throughout known space. "They're restructuring," he observed, "publicly embracing the Commonwealth model while secretly reinforcing key military installations." His assistant nodded. "Deception within deception. Old habits die hard." "Keep watching," Fleming instructed. "They think we only exposed one layer of their plans. Let them believe that." The quantum feeds flickered as they penetrated deeper into hegemonial space than ever before. Earth's technological advantage was real, but not as overwhelming as they had led the hegemony to believe. The bluff had worked once. Maintaining it would require constant vigilance. Admiral Parker entered the lab, his expression grim. "The Council approved Tornik's asylum request. He's being transferred to the lunar facility for debriefing." "You still don't trust him," Fleming observed. "I don't trust anyone who switches sides so readily," Parker replied. "But his information checks out. He's given us access codes to hegemonial military channels that are proving invaluable." "And if it's a trap?" Parker's smile held no humor. "Then we spring it on our terms. The game continues, Doctor. It's just moved to a higher level." As Earth prepared for its new role in galactic politics, research and development accelerated. The quantum technologies that had given humanity its edge were refined and expanded. The gravitational detection grid around Jupiter became the foundation for a system-wide defense network. In diplomatic chambers across the solar system, human representatives worked with their new allies, building trust and sharing knowledge. The centuries of solitude that had forced humanity to develop in isolation now proved advantageous. They had no historical grievances with any species, no ancient feuds to overcome. 6 years after the treaty signing, the Solar Alliance had grown to include 15 member species and 27 worlds. The hegemonial empire, while still the largest political entity in known space, had been forced to reform, granting unprecedented autonomy to its component worlds. On the 5th anniversary of what was now called the Jupiter Deception, a formal celebration was held at the Mars Embassy. Representatives from across the Alliance gathered to commemorate the turning point in galactic history. Ambassador Reeves, now Secretary General of the Alliance, stood at the podium before the assembled dignitaries. 5 years ago, we faced a moment of existential threat. The hegemony came to conquer, believing us primitive, isolated, and vulnerable. They miscalculated. She paused, looking across the chamber where former Commander Tornik sat among the Earth delegation. But, in that miscalculation, we found opportunity not just to defend ourselves, but to forge a new path for interstellar relations. One based not on dominance, but on mutual respect and cooperation. The applause was thunderous, representatives of a dozen species expressing approval in their unique ways. Pluridians glowed with internal light. Navarans stamped their heavy limbs, and Zolians emitted harmonious tones. Later at the reception, Tornik approached Reeves with a glass of earth wine, a taste he had acquired during his years of asylum. "Impressive speech, Secretary General, though somewhat sanitized for public consumption." Reeves smiled thinly. "Diplomacy often is, former commander." "Former, indeed." He glanced down at his civilian attire. 5 years as your cultural advisor has changed me more than 3 centuries of military service." "For the better, I hope." "Unquestionably." His scales rippled in amusement. "Though your Admiral Parker still watches me, as if I might suddenly reveal hidden tentacles and begin assimilating the guests." "Parker watches everyone that way," Reeves replied. "It's his job." Tornik's expression grew serious. "The hegemony is still planning, you know. My former colleagues are nothing if not patient. They'll wait decades, even centuries, for the opportunity to restore their dominance." "We're counting on it," Reeves said simply. "Peace maintained through mutual suspicion is still peace." Across the room, Dr. Fleming engaged with a group of scientists from various alliance worlds explaining Earth's approach to quantum communications. The technology-sharing protocols established under the alliance had accelerated development across multiple species, creating prosperity that further cemented political bonds. The key breakthrough, Fleming explained, was realizing that quantum entanglement could be stabilized through gravitational anchoring. By using microgravity fields as reference points, we eliminated the decay problem that had limited previous applications. A Navaran scientist rumbled appreciatively. "Such innovation often comes from necessity. Your isolation forced creative approaches." "Precisely," Fleming agreed. "Without established interstellar communication networks, we had to develop alternatives. Sometimes limitations breed advancement." The knowledge exchange continued throughout the evening, representatives sharing insights, building connections, and strengthening the alliance that had risen from Earth's near conquest. In the observatory dome above the embassy, Admiral Parker stood with Thomas Whitfield and Lakshmi Patel, gazing at the stars through the transparent ceiling. 5 years, Whitfield mused. "Sometimes it feels like yesterday we were preparing to meet the hegemony for the first time. And sometimes it feels like a lifetime," Patel added. "The galaxy has changed so dramatically. We've established diplomatic relations with 28 species, cultural exchanges with 17, trade agreements with 12. Parker's expression remained cautious. "And military alliances with 9. Never forget that aspect. For all our talk of peace and cooperation, we've effectively created a counterweight to hegemonial power. That's the real achievement." "Always the strategist?" Whitfield chided gently. "Someone has to be," Parker replied. "The hegemony ruled for 5,000 years through military superiority. 5 years of reform doesn't erase that heritage. They're adapting, evolving, learning from their mistakes. As are we," Patel pointed out. "The quantum monitoring network now extends to the Oort cloud. The Alliance fleet includes ships from 6 species each, contributing unique capabilities. We're stronger together than any of us were alone." Parker nodded reluctantly. "True enough, but vigilance remains essential." As the celebration continued below, the 3 architects of Earth's galactic emergence contemplated the future. Challenges remained: internal disagreements within the Alliance, lingering hegemonial influence, unexplored regions of space, hiding unknown threats. But for the first time, they faced these challenges with allies at their side. The peace treaty had indeed been a lie, a hegemonial deception meant to facilitate conquest. But from that lie, a greater truth had emerged: the possibility of genuine cooperation among the stars. Humanity had turned deception into opportunity, transforming a moment of existential threat into the foundation for a new galactic order. As dawn broke over the Martian landscape, casting red-gold light across the embassy, Ambassador Diana Reeves raised her glass in a private toast. To peace, built on strength. To trust verified by vigilance. And to the future that stretched before them, uncertain, challenging, but filled with possibility. In the shadows of that same dawn on a distant, hegemonial colony, world, scientists worked feverishly on countermeasures to Earth's quantum technology. The game continued the balance of power, shifting subtly day by day. But for now, at least, peace prevailed among the stars, a peace forged in the crucible of deception, but genuine nonetheless. The treaty had been a lie. The peace it created was real.